This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
Feeling good. Oh, it's we're closing in on the start of the season, so it's just been cranking out content. I've been busy on the phone talking to football GMs all over college football, talking to recruiting people. It's just it's that time of year, bro, where we're like doing a million things. But I'm excited because the games are going to start, which means we can just concentrate on what's happening on the field.
So what are we hearing? How is the offense looking? Is it humming? I know they got a good offensive line. So is Cam able to do his thing? Is there I know you don't get to really watch all-out practice like I do at Dolphins camp. So you kind of get a Dolphins camp, at least you get some kind of a feel for what the hell you're watching. I know it's a little more of a challenge and you got to dig. So talk to me, man. What's exciting about the skill positions for the Canes?
Well, I just think, offensively, they're going to be one of the best offenses in the country. They just got so many weapons, I think this defense, you talk about the first scrimmage this past weekend, everything that I heard was that, the offense looked really, really good. Cam Ward, you go back to the spring game, we could watch the spring game. He threw 3 touchdown passes in that game. And they've got all kinds of weapons now, man. Damian Martinez in the backfield is a big addition. I think they've got explosive guys like Chris Johnson, who's sort of under the radar running back, just tremendous speed, a guy that is a special weapon. You got Isaiah Horton, who's improving, a big receiver, Sam Brown, the transfer from Houston, and then you've got the consistent guys that just do their job every single time, like Xavier Restrepo. So to me, I think offensively, they are one of the best teams in college football. It's a matter of, do they stay away from the turnover? Do they execute in the red zone and get 6 and not 3? And that's going to be the difference between them winning the ACC and finishing second or third or fourth and being a disappointment.
And will Mario take some chances to make sure he gets the 6 instead of the 3? Because in both leagues, college or the NFL, you lean on 3s, you will end up getting eliminated or not achieving your goals. You got to score touchdowns, bro. You got to score touchdowns.
You do. And, look, this team averaged 31 points a game last year, almost 32 points a game. And, they were top 30 in yards per play. So they were explosive enough. I mean, you just look at the turnovers and the way that affected their season. They should have never been 7-6. That was a 9-win team in my mind that underachieved because they turned the ball over in bad situations. So I think as long as Cam Ward is in control, and like I said to you before here many times, I think as long as he's not trying to play hero ball, right, and making the dumb play where he's fumbling it or trying to do something extra, they're going to score enough points to beat most of the teams on their schedule because their offense is that good and they're that deep at the skill position.
I look at the Florida game, right, and so you know it better than we see right now. This is what sucks about college football. Sometimes we just don't know. It's like potluck. It's like a Jack in the Box. We don't know what the hell we're going to get. So I don't know how good or how bad Florida is. I don't know how much better the Canes are. I know that on paper they should be better. But then again, last year, you should have been better on paper than you were in reality. You had better talent than the results. So I don't know enough about Florida. Walk us through as Canes fans on layman's terms. Where is it going to give Miami trouble? Where can Miami take advantage of Florida? Speak.
Yeah, well, listen, I saw the Gators play Georgia, which, obviously Georgia's an entirely different animal and on a different level. But I was in Jacksonville to watch that game. And the number one thing I took away is just up front, Florida is not good enough to win in the SEC. They just don't have the dogs on the offensive and defensive line. And I think that's where Mario has the edge in this game because he has recruited the position the right way. Miami is deep on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They're talented. They're big. They're physical. Go back to the Clemson game, and that's how Miami won. They out-physicaled Clemson, right? And they made fewer turnovers than Clemson did. Clemson's quarterback tried to play hero ball, made a mistake in the fourth quarter, and Miami took advantage and won that game. So To me, the Gators are not a terrible football program. They have a hellacious schedule. They have a losing skid of 5 straight games. They've got a lack of confidence probably from some of those players within. When you lose 5 straight games to end the season, I'm sorry, but that's going to carry over into the next year, right? Especially when guys hit the
Is
transfer.
here any good like the boy over in Tallahassee with the
Well,
NIL?
no, I mean, listen. He with NIL, they're fine. I mean, all these SEC schools are fine when it comes to NIL. Nobody's crying poor in the SEC, but
No, but
I
have they retooled like this guy does with Florida State that he does a marvelous job?
Yeah. I mean, I like their squad. I mean, in terms of offensive weapons, I mean, I don't think Florida is devoid of talent. Like they went out and they got this kid out of the transfer portal from Arizona State, another wide receiver. They got the kid who ended up getting drafted by the 49ers this past year. His name's escaping me right now. I'm trying to remember what his name is. But they got him out of the Pac-12 as well, and they just finished going and getting Elijah Badger from Arizona State to come and be another weapon to have alongside. Their receivers are not bad. I mean, between Elijah Badger, Trey Wilson, the sophomore, their quarterback Graham Mertz is not a bad player. 43 career
Telling
starts.
me their D line is not nasty enough that they.
No. They get pushed around. That's the bottom line. They get pushed around, and
I like this because what you're telling me is then Miami's strength, one of their strengths that at least I know is one of their strengths, is the offensive line. That shit turned the corner last year, and I expect it to be even better this year. I expect this offensive line to be the offensive line that Mario kind of wants, that can punch you in the mouth, and you've got like a couple of stud running backs back there, and they're going to kill you.
Right.
I expect that. So if you tell me Florida did not recruit, did not find, some guys to transfer over and win at the line of scrimmage, I really like that for Miami.
Yeah, I mean, the best guy that they got out of the transfer portal was a freshman, a guy who enrolled at USC. That's literally a true freshman. That guy's not going to come in and make an immediate impact. Right. Jason Zandamela. I mean, he was a top 100 type player out of the state that left to go to USC and then return home. And then the other guys that they picked up. They got a kid from Arkansas who was basically a backup at Arkansas. They got a starter from San Diego State. That's a G5 program. That's not an elite Power 5 guy from Alabama or anything like that. And then on the defensive line, the best player they brought in was this kid from Penn, an Ivy League school guy. So if you ask me, what did Florida do in the portal? They got a couple receivers. They added some depth in the secondary, but really what their main problem was, what I saw get exposed against Georgia, was their offensive defensive line. I don't think they did enough there. And that's why I think Miami wins.
And that's one of the things that, again, I don't know if these kids are all going to transfer over and become terrific players, but they did attack that. Mario did attack that, him and his recruiting and all that. Yeah. They have beefed up their O&D lines, and I really like that, because if you can't win there, bro, you're never going to beat Alabama and Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State. And whenever you run into those big dogs in the playoffs, they're going to kick your ass every single time, bro. That's why Miami used to win all the time.
Yeah.
Because it was Jimmy Jones, or it was Jerome Brown, or it was Patrick Crine, or whatever. It was somebody was going to wreck your effing day. Russell Maryland, whatever it was. But somebody was the latter Calais Campbell at the end of this run was Calais Campbell, right? Calais Campbell's one of their last big-ass, badass defensive linemen, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, you would say of the new generation, you basically have Jalen Phillips and Gregory Rousseau, and then a big gap between the Calais Campbells and all those guys. So, yes.
Those guys aren't even close to Calais Campbell.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how UM used to win, with all those freaking guys that would win at the line. And that's what I think you need to get back. And at least in the Florida game, if you tell me Miami can go up there and win at the line of scrimmage, then Cam Ward should be good enough to win that game.
That's why I'm not sweating it, brother. Really not. I mean, look, you're going to have issues. It's not going to be a blowout. They're not going to go in there and beat the Gators by 4 touchdowns. That's still an SEC team. It's still an SEC environment. But you ask me who's going to be winning in the fourth quarter, it's going to be Miami, because they've got a legitimate playmaker stud at quarterback. They've got weapons all over the field, backfield and receiver, and they're complete up front on the offensive defensive line. I know that they have young guys in the secondary. I know that Florida's going to score 2 or 3 touchdowns on blown coverages because that's going to happen. You have young secondary. But if Miami scores 38 points, they're winning that game easy. It's not even going to be a game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I agree. I obviously not a blowout, but if you go up there and win, that's all I need, bro. That's all I need. Just win and win at the line of scrimmage, and I think you can eke yourself out a victory. What else you got going on in the Athletics so folks can check you out?
No, man, we're going to have our transfer portal story basically telling everybody who the best players in the country are. I'm working with Bruce Feldman and Sam Kahn on that for next week. Like I said, I've been on the phone with a lot of football. It's funny saying college football GMs, though, right? I mean, it's just kind of funny to say that that's what exists now, but that's what it is. And recruiting directors and people who watch these guys practice every single day to get a good feel about who's legit. Because like you said, it's like a jack in the box, right? We can sit here and say, oh, well, look at this guy that they got in the transfer portal. But the reality is nobody knows how good these guys really are until you start talking to the people behind the scenes who've watched them in practice, right? And are being honest with you and telling you, hey, this guy. I mean, I've heard some funny answers this week, dude. I had one staffer at a school I'm not going to mention, who literally, this was supposed to be a big time receiver, and he says to me, this guy is average as F. The guy that they got in the door in the springtime that is supposed to be a stud, and they're like, he's average as F. He's nothing special. So you can read the magazines, you can read all the those guys don't have any of this information. So what we're going to come out with next week is going to be real. It's going to have authentic information there of who's legitimate going into the season, and hopefully it's not just a jack in the box, and you have some information to go on that's real.
And don't forget, folks, it's also real. You can use our code BIGO10. You will get 10% off at Caneswear. And if you don't live close by, you got to order online. If you order over $99, you will get free shipping, and you can use our code BIGO10. You could get your Panthers championship gear. They still have that stuff there, a bunch of Heat gear, Dolphins gear, and, of course, practically anything and everything with the Canes logo on it. InterMiami stuff, jerseys, kits, Messi jerseys, Messi shirts, flags, all kinds of stuff for InterMiami. Sneakers, sneakers. You can check it out there, man. They got it all at Caneswear, and use our code BIGO10 to get 10% off. Manny, we will catch up on Friday, my friend. Appreciate you as always.
Anytime, brother. Take care.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Manny Navarro and our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.